On my sporadic travels across the United States, I have enjoyed cataloging my initial reactions to places I see because I make this same astonished face every single time as my eyes try to process the reality of what I'm seeing. Taking us to the present day, I am in disbelief of how every place I stop is more incredible than the last. And when you come across a place like this, I'm humbled by how little I have known about my country all these years and the incredible stories held within every single crevice of the land that we call home. I can't help but have the growing feeling that the more I see, the more I am certain I haven't seen anything yet. Welcome to southwestern Colorado at Mesa Verde National Park. This park is for all the history buffs out there, as the main attraction is the preservation of cliff dwellings and pit houses of the Ancestral Puebloans. This isn't the first time I have come across such structures. Evidence of this period of history we also saw at Walnut Canyon and Wupakti National Monument, both found in northern Arizona. And yes, I'm wearing the same outfit. It is because I'm in fact a time traveler. Anyways, people were slowly migrating south in search of farmable land, water, and chasing new ideas. The homes of Mesa Verde National Park tells pieces of their story, as this land was actively settled by over 26 tribes over a span of 700 years. A lot of knowledge of how they lived has to be inferred or interpreted by historians based on archaeological discoveries. But just know there's still so much we don't know about this period in time.
And here I was thinking Walnut Canyon was cool.
This park is home to over 600 cliff dwellings and 4,700 archaeological sites that have been discovered so far. The best preserved site in the park is Spruce Tree House, built around 1210 AD, which contains 130 rooms and is made of 90% of the original materials used in the build. While many of these incredible sites are usually available for touring, they are also exposed to the elements constantly, and as a result, they will close down to work on their preservation, but also to maintain safety for visitors. Many sites in the park were closed when I visited, but there was still so much to see, and the views were just incredible.
I'm gonna use me for reference, so now you know how deep the canyon is. So I keep on getting winded really easily just from walking these short distances. And then I remember we're like 8,000 something feet above sea level. And I've been at sea level for a long time now. Whew. No altitude sickness yet though, so we'll count that as a win. I just look like a really out of shape. I mean, I'm also really out of shape. They got a 3-story house up in there. They were living better than I do. Man. So the tower over there is 4 stories tall, and it is the tallest one in the park. 4 stories. Without any machines to build that, that is crazy. My deep thought of the day so far is they really used all the shapes. We got circles, ovals, squares, rectangles. It's just very aesthetically pleasing. I'm sure they imagined millions and millions of visitors from around the world were going to come look at their houses, so they wanted to give us something extra spicy. It looks like someone ruined this guy's house. Probably should have started with this and then did the big epic castle thing. We're gonna go see more of my favorites, the pit houses.
Atop the mesas, there are pit houses scattered around that have been excavated to view. While these were underwhelming compared to the cliff dwellings with hundreds of rooms, these little slices of history became more and more intricate as I went along. These pit houses were the earliest form of settlement in the region, dating back to around 550 to 750 AD. As the early people switched from hunter-gatherer lifestyle to farming and settling down. These homes were partially dug, and then the roofs were made of wood sealed with mud plaster. As you can imagine, after the rainy season, the roofs were in need of repair or being redone altogether, as the water weakened the mud plaster and damaged the wood, which is why there's no roof standing today. The bottom portion of the pit houses were left intact, allowing us to get a feel for how the rooms were set up in these mesa communities.
I know I was poo-pooing on these before, but these are actually really, really cool, and you should check them out. I take back what I said. I don't know if you guys can tell, but that's pretty deep. I'm gonna use me as a reference point.
Just as I suspected, about 2.5 feet tall.
Are my illustrations helping everyone? All right, I'm done with the measuring, I swear. I just think it's funny. For your reference. All right, I'm really gonna stop.
The thing I personally have a hard time wrapping my head around is that despite the fact of these harsh conditions of survival, these people were thriving. Even religious temples being built that are standing to this day. This is the Sun Temple, which was estimated to be 11 to 14 feet tall. Then there are cities built into the sides of cliffs. Many of them were estimated to be constructed around the year 1200 AD. Cliff Palace being the largest, containing 150 rooms, and said to have a population of around 100 people. An interesting fact I found is that the doorways are much smaller than our doors today. That is because the average man was 5 feet 5 inches tall, and women were 5 feet 1 inch tall at the time. Buildings were designed to fit the area of the cliff that they were in, and that is why you see such a variety of building shapes and sizes. While we don't know for sure, it is thought that these larger dwellings were for administrative and ceremonial usage as well.
You guys, there's somebody blocking the trail, like, a little bit rude, you know? Excuse me, sir.
He's like, you shall not pass. Oh, there's 2.
I'm kind of intimidated. Should I cross? The birds win this round. This is kind of freaky.
There are a few hikes available in the park, and I chose to do the Petroglyph Point Trail, which takes you down into the canyon to a place on the canyon wall that contains petroglyphs. I was shocked at the intensity of this hike. I didn't even get a chance to record the most intense parts of the trail due to me needing all 4 limbs readily available to climb up and down these steep and narrow pathways. I tried to capture the essence of the hike, but I feel I failed miserably. So you'll have to get in the car and see it for yourself. You will not be disappointed.
I'm gonna say it. This hike is the most interesting hike I've ever taken before. Just with the variety that you come across with on the trail. It's like challenging enough to be fun, but not too challenging where it's off-putting.
The exact reason for the cliff dwellings being abandoned is unknown, but historians believe that it was not a single event, but rather a trickling. Many people migrated south to Rio Grande Valley as ideas changed over time. Then, after some time, the European settlers arrived, bringing with them their religion, food, culture, disease, and weapons. As a result, the Puebloans over time lost a lot of their culture, as they were forced later on to attend schools to quote-unquote westernize them. The Puebloans never did return to the cliff dwellings, despite the fact that they left so much behind, like they would one day return. Today, the National Park Service works closely with the 26 associated tribes to uncover and preserve what is left of a culture that has been partially forgotten or lost to time. While we cannot change history, all we are able to do is learn from it, and continue to learn from one another. We live in a world brought together by technology, with so much diversity and variation of culture and differing ways of life. While it can be easier to stay in your own little world and assume your way of doing things is the right way, trust me, I personally know that trap as an ever-reforming know-it-all. It is so enriching when you step out of your comfort zone and see the world through another's eyes. And I've so far found that we have far more in common than we do differences. And that common ground is what's important, rather than the minuscule differences.